Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dr. Chris Radio Horror Show and this recorded interview being broadcast live. You can't catch it while it's being broadcast. Hopefully you can catch it on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. No call-ins, as again, this is a recorded, pre-recorded interview. Thank you for coming on the show with us, Courtney Gains, to talk about a little bit about your new film that that is just recently come out, or it's about to come out.
We're talking Queen Bees. Queen Bees just came out I think it's almost 2 weeks now, but I have a bunch of things to talk about coming out, so we'll cover some ground.
I don't think Queen Bees was the film that you were supposed to be coming on.
Oh, for River? Was it for River?
Yes, that was what it was.
Okay.
I was going to say, Queen Bees might not be... but it's funny that you mentioned Queen Bees. I just passed my motorcycle license today.
Yeah, River came out yesterday. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But that's so funny that you brought that up, because I was just like, oh yeah, by the way, I just passed my motorcycle.
Well, hopefully you won't get punished by old ladies then once you're on your motorcycle.
No. Are you a rider?
I can ride. I don't have a street bike. I've never quite, especially living in LA for all those years. Everybody I knew that had a bike in LA had an accident, so I would always keep myself from getting one. But I grew up riding dirt bikes. I had a Kawasaki 80 that was a little bat out of hell when I was a kid. Did
you ever have to ride in any film that you've been in?
Yeah, I did. Again, dirt bikes. I did a movie called Winner Take All for a company called Apollo Films, and that movie was okay, but that led to that same company did Can't Buy Me Love, so that was a good thing. I worked for those guys.
Excellent. Very cool.
We got to go to Dallas Stadium, though, back in the day, the old Superdome, and run around on the track while real races were happening, and that was crazy to see. Just you know the tracks, the jumps are big and stuff, but until you're down there in the ground seeing what these guys do, incredible.
Gotcha.
Incredible.
So River is a psychological sci-fi thriller that follows River Allen, a 20-something-year-old woman who searches for fragmented identity after her mother's death. River has spiraled emotionally out of control when she disappears for over a week with no recollection of how she returned home. River loses all sense of self and purpose. Directed and written by Emily Skye, starring you and Mary Cameron Rogers, but also interesting, it's a sci-fi psychological thriller directed by a woman, which is not something you see very often.
True. Emily Skye is to call her an auteur filmmaker is not a stretch, because she wrote it, directed it, shot it, and edited it. And she is a good DP, man. Like, she's really excellent with using natural light, and gives the film a really good look. And the locations that she used, she understood using a color palette. A lot of times independent films don't put a lot of true value in the production design, and it's sometimes overlooked, whereas in big films, that's for a director, the production designer is as important, if not more important, than their DP. So she's done a lot of stuff before this, but this was her first film, and remarkably it got out in less than a year, which for an independent film is almost unheard of. And so it's getting out there, and people seem to be responding pretty well to it. And it's a nice and different role for me. I play a character named Dr. Michael Glenn, and there's only 5 people in the cast. My character's almost a hyphenate. He's good friends with the lead character, was good friends with her mother, who passed away, so he's sort of a bit of a surrogate father. Plus, she works at his antique store in the small town, and he's a psychiatrist. So when she starts having these time lapses, he does therapy sessions with her. So this guy serves many things for her in this movie.
I'm always drawn to films that have antique stores or used bookstores for some reason, because I always like going to them as an actual, under my own, whatever it is I might be doing. Or
Understood. Yeah, my character's got I had a nice long COVID beard, so it's a very different, earthy character, and so I was happy to get a chance to play it.
Did you film the whole thing during that?
We did shoot it during COVID. We shot it in North Carolina, and it was a very small crew, and as I said, a very small cast. So we sort of tested and then basically stayed in a bubble. We literally didn't have much contact with the outside world during the whole shoot. So it was it was handled very well, and we had no problems.
that can be I don't know. I've talked to a couple people that had to do that whole like bubble filming or whatever, and they said it was the most isolated thing you could ever imagine. One person related it to being like, so you remember like there was all these complaints about like Christopher Lee or yeah, it was Christopher Lee having to film like all his scenes alone away from the cast in his green room because he was so old and he was very isolated. I'm like, yeah, he's like, I now understand what he did, how he felt like, because I literally it was like me and the DP and that was it. And then
Yeah.
I never got to see anybody, and like my scenes were constantly shot like alone, and I just felt very like sad. I'm like, this story gets more and more depressing as we go along. Please continue.
This one wasn't too bad because they had, what had happened is they had shot a short version of it that did very well in festivals, and those same investors loved it so much they invested in doing a feature. So all the crew had worked together before, and most of the cast, the young cast. So it was a very family, feeling, a tight knit feeling, and they welcomed me with open arms. So it was not bad. I've had worse isolated experiences for sure. Even though we were essentially in a bubble, but we were all in it together, and it was not a bad experience. It was actually a very good experience.
You also have like 7 different things coming up in pre-production right now. Are you really working on like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different projects?
So there's a ton of things in pre-production that are all indies, which means we're just waiting for the green light on the funding. So who knows if any of those will happen. And I have a lot of things at this point that are in post-production as well, and some of those have been there for a long time, and some of them are soon to come out. And then just several of the films, the 4 that you see on the top of that have been released, are all coming out roughly at the same time. So if we want to talk about those, I can go down that list.
Yeah, definitely. I did have one quick question,
Sure.
which I thought was funny because I was in the video store. Yes, so in New England we have this thing called like Bull Moose. They're like a chain of like like they thrive on like physical media. And I
That's
was
great.
and it was around that time that's when your email came in that we were setting up the Zoom. And I was like, oh look, there's another Children of the Corn. And I was thinking, I'm like, I wonder if he ever like goes through a store and it's just like, wow, they did another one of those. Jeez, they're milking the hell out of that. Do you ever have that experience where you're like, are you kidding me with these? Because they made
I'm
like
pretty
11
aware of how many there are at this point. I think there's like 9. Well, and there's a prequel coming out soon that I actually think might be good because it has some really good people involved. And they shot that in Australia during the pandemic. But even right now, that movie, I mean, that franchise just keeps going. There's a release of the original soundtrack by a company called 1984. Like you can get it on vinyl. That just came out.
Yeah.
There's a 4K box set coming out in September. So it just keeps going. And then, like I said, this prequel's coming out soon. It lives on and on, this thing.
Yeah, it's a little nuts, and I'm always wondered like somebody who's like in the good one, and then they
Yes.
see all the crappy ones, and they're like, how much longer are they going to keep doing this? This is kind of like nuts.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
Stephen
tried
King will
to
never get the
avoid
rights
seeing
back.
them. The only one I watched was John Franklin because he co-wrote and was in 666. So I saw that one, and you can't go wrong watching John play Isaac. He plays that role beautifully. So yeah, but that's the only one. Well, I saw a little bit of the sci-fi remake, but not. I thought the choices to make the 2 lead characters so unlikable, but it was very much closer to the original short story. But it's when the woman finally gets killed, your response is like, good, shut her up, and that's not. She was a fine actress, but she was not a nice person, and so you didn't really have any sympathy for your lead characters, and that's not a good idea.
And that soundtrack you were talking about, you're right in front and center on the vinyl that I keep seeing advertised everywhere for that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm in talks with the artist Gary Pullen. We might have something up our sleeve here soon to put out. He also did the DVD cover that came out a few years ago with John Franklin on it. He constantly he's very involved in putting out Children of the Corn art. He does horror stuff, but for some reason, Children of the Corn, he's very associated with it. So yeah, he does a great job. So when I saw that, I actually reached out to him, and because like I said, we have a possible something up our sleeve I can't quite talk about yet, but we're thinking of doing an art release. So
Here's something you will find funny. If they keep doing these, there will be more Children of the Corn movies than there are pages of the actual story King wrote.
Yes, exactly. It was a short story. I think that's very possible.
16
That's very
pages,
possible.
and we're up to 10 films with the 11th coming out.
Yeah, crazy, right? And I said I have a feeling this prequel is going to be good, and if it is, then that's going to just. And Elijah Woods also just was doing articles recently talking about he wants to reboot that in Nightmare on Elm Street. So it's like it just keeps coming up.
The other film that I thought looked really good was Haunted 333 with you got Meg Foster in that, Corin Nemec, and you as well, which is fantastic. Meg I've met a couple times, never had her on the show. She's not big on interviews. Corin's been on the show a few times, so that was kind of a cool cast.
Yeah, Meg, that was the first time I got a chance to work with Meg. We actually have the same manager and do conventions and things.
Oh.
Meg is a real sweetheart and just a fantastic actress. I can't say. And Rob Zombie puts her in everything that he does now once he worked with her. That movie, I don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day. We shot it, and then they ran into some money problems, and that was in post, and that was the last I heard of it, and that's been quite a while.
That sucks because it just the poster, little I've seen of it, and the cast looks pretty good, but that sucks that it's in a stall because of money or COVID.
Yeah, no, it was way before COVID, and it just I never got the full story, but something to the effect of somebody took some money or something, and it went and the post money disappeared, and it's never seemed to get its feet. So I don't know if that movie's ever going to make the light of day, but I would like to see it. I would like to. Meg Foster had a wonderful character in it. I'd like to see what she did with it.
How often does that happen? Do you you're all set to go? I mean, I don't know how much of this you can like ever reveal is like, you're on this IMDb with writers. Sometimes they're paid, you know what I mean? And if the movie is never even made or whatever, they still get paid. I mean, do you get anything from it that, is that you're involved in it, or is it a matter of like, you didn't shoot anything, you don't get anything?
Yeah, if you don't shoot anything, if you have what's called a pay-to-play deal, they may have to pay up. But generally speaking, if you don't shoot, you don't get paid. But in fact, we shot this. I'm telling you, it was shot. It was in post-production that it all fell apart. So they have the footage. They just have not finished the movie.
Oh, I've got that problem right now. I don't have a film that's falling apart, but I have to find an editor. I have a patchwork film that we did during COVID. Very improv. It's like the best way to describe it without giving too much away is Clerks meets a radio station.
Nice. Do you have money for a good editor?
No.
Yeah, there's your problem.
I have to find a cheap editor.
Yeah. An editor, man, to me, from a producing point of view, I've produced a few things. I mean, editors make or break a project,
Oh, yeah, totally. That can definitely be. So what is something that's coming out that you would like to talk about?
Sure. So yeah, let's talk about the ones that are happening. So Queen Bees came out 2 weeks ago, and I only had a cameo in that, but I made the trailer. But I had the opportunity to work with Ellen Bernstein, Anne Margaret, Jane Curtin, and Loretta Devine, and I wasn't going to pass that up. So that was a really interesting experience. They're all such iconic actresses in their own right. So I enjoyed that. Then another movie, a horror film I did called Await the Dawn. It had been released on some level in Europe, but we'd heard nothing. And that came out last week on Amazon Prime to the surprises of everybody, including the director. So that's out, and that's got Vernon Wells in it and Dee Wallace and I myself. And so that's a fun ride. River came out yesterday. And then I have another movie called Charming the Hearts of Men that's coming out August 13th. And that's a movie set in the 50s. And it's about the woman loosely based on the true story of this woman who helped to basically put her hand putting in the word women's rights in the civil rights bill. It's based on her story and how she got to that point. And I love period pieces, and the trailer just came out and it looks really good. So I'm excited. It's been about 2 years since we shot that. So all of a sudden, COVID kind of held everything up, and now all of a sudden, all these projects are getting released.
That's good. That's excellent. Yeah. One thing I didn't know you were in, like back in 2007, you were in the Rob Zombie's Halloween?
Yeah, I didn't make the theatrical release, but I'm in the director's cut. And the reason I didn't make the theatrical release is because it was a nasty rape scene that when they did the test, they found out the girls didn't like the rape scene,
Yeah.
which I could have told them that for free, but but yeah, it's in the director's cut, and most people say they like the director's cut better for whatever that's worth. But yeah, so that was an interesting experience. Usually, everybody hovers around the monitor while you're shooting. When we'd come out, no one would be watching except Zombie because it was so uncomfortable. Nobody wanted to watch it.
You know, this film, Hollywood Land of Hopes and Lies, those type of films I absolutely love. Did you ever hear about the Richard Donner Superman TV series that was supposed to be made?
No.
Yeah, they were going to be doing I think it was supposed to be a mini series, but it was a behind the scenes biographical documentary, acted out, film, based on the true story of how Superman was made. And Donner was the producer of it. And, we unfortunately lost the great Richard Donner last week.
Yeah, that's right. I shouldn't have been laughing, should I?
No, it's totally fine. But this
That's
Hollywood
true.
Land Hopes and Lies that follows a group of struggling filmmakers in Los Angeles and New York who are trying to get a film made after they get fully funded. You just explained what, 3 different projects of yours that have been falling apart due to post-production funding.
True. And that movie, I don't know when that movie's going to get done. I did another movie for that director, Steven Carrizo, and he's attached me to a bunch of things because I was honestly the only actor he liked working with. It was one of the worst projects as far as dealing with actors I've ever been on. I can't remember the name of the project right now. We shot it in Texas and Austin. But yeah, it was crazy. But so that I love the idea of it, but he's, got to pull those. It's hard to raise money to make a movie, as you know. It's even harder to get it distributed.
I mean, everything I've done has been
a tough sled, man.
Everything I've done has been very low budget, or I've been involved in someone else's thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or a couple friends of mine, we started trying to make a fake trailer as a parody to Hammer films, and COVID happened, and I don't know if everyone who was involved originally wants to get back together and try and do it again. Yeah, we have this COVID lottery happening here in Massachusetts right now. If I win one of those lotteries, there's 5 different $1 million golden tickets, like it's Willy Wonka. I'm gonna self-finance my own movie.
Fastest way to lose your money you can figure out: invest in a movie. Way to go.
It'll be very small, low budget. I'll think big, but be like, all right, so we're gonna film this in my garage.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the sets are gonna be free and low budget, but everyone will be paid.
There you go.
Because sometimes I think location.
I got one other low budget horror movie to talk about. The trailer just came out called The Bleeding Dark, and I played the lead in that. And what's interesting about it for me is it's very much, to call it a drama horror film is accurate, because the storyline is my son and I lose his mother to a robbery, and he blames me for her life, and it's very heavy. But when it gets into the kills and all that, it goes very, very 80s non-CGI. So that trailer's out. I'm very curious what that movie's going to look like. It was very much a emotional challenge, and I'm curious to see what that one's going to be like too. So the trailer's out, but I don't know the release date yet.
Yeah, that's with The Exorcist, Eileen Dietz, huh?
Yeah, she's worked with the director before. I actually am friends with Eileen. She was the one who introduced me to our manager. We have a guy named Chris Rowe Management, and originally he does conventions as well, and that's originally how I started working with him. And then he's built himself quite a juggernaut management company now.
Yeah,
but
I've met Chris a bunch of times.
Eileen has been very helpful to me, and that she got me on that job.
I was just about to ask you, because you mentioned the manager, your manager, I was going to start going through the list of is it Sean, is it Chris, and then you nailed it with Chris.
Yes, there's only 5 good, 5 maybe convention guys who will keep busy, and we have Chris. I've been with Chris now, over 15 years. We've been together a long time now.
That's fantastic. Do you are you going to be hitting the convention circuit again coming up now that things
starting to finally open up? Yeah, so I'm doing a Detroit Motor City Con at the end of the month.
Cool.
And then I have one in Gettysburg, I think, at the end of August. So it's just starting to open up, and we'll see how that goes. That's going to be an interesting experience to be around that many people again. I haven't been around that many people in at least a year and a half if I could avoid it.
What would you say is your biggest signed print on your table? Is it from the Burbs?
Oh, without a doubt, it's Children of the Corn. Without a
Corn.
doubt. That's what gets me there. And then the Burbs is number 2 because, that's half comedy, half horror. So they love that too.
The Burbs is, I think, one of the most underrated films of the 80s, honestly.
I found out doing conventions that it has a huge cult following that I had no idea. There are absolute die-hard Burbs fans out there.
Yeah, I got I'm assuming you've seen the what the hell is it? The Shout Factory. Ugh.
Yeah, I think I did. Didn't I do commentary on that one?
Audio commentary with writer Dana Olson, moderated by Callum Waddell. Maybe there's another commentary on here I wasn't aware of.
I did the one that I did commentary for one that was released.
There Goes the Neighborhood featurette with Corey Feldman and Joe Dante and Carrie Fisher.
Oh, okay. I did one for a European release then that I guess that I did commentary on that came out a few years ago.
That would be hilarious considering your character is not very chatty.
Exactly. But I figure I had to represent. I'm the last of the Klopeks, right? So, which is kind of crazy.
Right. They could totally, I mean, I understand how big of a star Tom Hanks is, but he could self-finance a sequel to The Burbs. I mean, we lost Carrie Fisher, unfortunately, but It would be kind of funny that we could get, as many people back as we can, like you break out of prison or something, or.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what I've always seen him coming out of prison.
Right, because also you're in California. I believe the movie was in California, so the death penalty, you're on a 60-year wait to hit the chair, so you'd still be
There are a lot of people who would like to see it, but I don't know if it'll ever happen. It wasn't, especially with Tom Hanks, the movie Big before our film that did so well financially. It sort of seems to people like, in the studios as a bit of a letdown. But in fact, like I said, in the real world, on video and all of that, it's done extremely well. So.
I have to ask you, right behind you, you have a bunch of guitars. Are you a guitar collector?
No, I'm just a guitar player.
What do you play? I don't know a lot about instruments, and even though I know I host a radio show, but I'm not the biggest music instrument expert, let's just say. So what's some of the stuff that you've, what do you play? What's your?
I'm not big on all of that. Some of them have been gifts, and some of them have been. I get them for different reasons, like the gold top back there. It's just a knockoff, but I wanted that '50s P90 sound, for a guitar. It's just real ones go for like $1,500, $1,700. That's a Harley Benton, But I have a few things. I have a Squire, like a knockoff Stratocaster. I got a 75 Ibanez Artist. And then can we see the guitar behind me? That's that one. What's cool about that is it's just a decent acoustic guitar. But what's cool about it is that I did a Nash Bridges episode with Willie Nelson, and I got him to sign it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm not a big autograph getting kind of guy, but that being that it was a nylon string guitar that he plays a nylon string, and he was such a gentleman. He played the guitar and was, this is a nice guitar, and then signed it. It was great. It was really great getting to meet him and work with him.
So you don't necessarily collect guitars, but do you have something you collect as a fan of something?
No, I'm not into.
You're not into what we are. Like I would go to the con with this and be like, signed.
Right. No, I mean, yeah, and I know a lot of people who really, material things and autographs, whatever, that it has significant meaning to them. For me, it's like my 75 Ibanez. My father bought me for like my 16th birthday, so it just has that kind of sentimental value that is priceless. But really, yeah, I'm not that into material stuff as for memory's sake. I really not. It's not my thing so much. But let's talk music since you brought it up. I got a couple things going on with that too.
Sure.
One is I have a solo record I'm putting out right now called Acoustic Gains Volume 1, and we just released our third single yesterday, Monday, called Let It Ride, and that just got picked up in a little indie film that I'm in called my redneck neighbor. Well, again, I always say, guess who played the redneck? But it's cool. They picked up one of my songs for the film, and I don't know when it's coming out. I think they just got done with their rough cut. And then I also have a band called Ripple Street, and we've put out 3 singles this year. And the last single was called Would You? And I would describe it as Black Sabbath-esque. It's got a kind of a heavy vibe to it. And so kind of extremes, mellow acoustic and kind of heavy rock. And, that COVID was when I decided I've been talking about doing this acoustic record for a long time. I was like, no excuses. You can really buy equipment fairly cheap now to track material. And I just started tracking tunes.
Before we let you go, we got to ask: Can you give us a little something on the guitar? You don't have to sing, but could you give us a little?
No, I'm going to sing because
okay, sure, yeah, absolutely.
So,
go ahead, sing, and we'll find one of your songs to play it with this interview when we broadcast it.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Well, I'll play "Let It Ride" because that's the song that just came out, and it's a song I know.
We'll definitely probably play that more Black Sabbath-ish because we play a lot more like metal and rock on this show. You know what I mean? We're a radio horror show. It doesn't really lend itself to pop and country too much.
Right. Well, check out my band Ripple Street to find the harder stuff. We put out another song called Slab City that's pretty 90s grunge this year too. But here's Let It Ride.
And by the way, when we post this on YouTube, don't strike us with a copyright thing because it's part of the interview.
Not gonna happen, partner. Here you go. Okay. Let It Ride. I got to let it all ride. Got to let it slide, slide, slide. Changing time. Well, you know I've been so blind. Felt it coming on, oh yeah, well, right and wrong. Said, baby, gone, Lord, well, I can't deny. I said, baby, gone. She long gone, yeah. Had to leave. Said she got to be free, yeah, right. Felt it coming on, yeah, well, right and wrong. Said, baby, gone, Lord, well, so am I. I don't wanna know what it came. She said it don't wanna face harsh reality. That you ain't my baby now. No more. Said I guess it don't wanna face the score. Gotta let it ride. I said got to let it ride. Got to let it slide, slide, slide. Changing time. Well, you know I've been so blind. Felt it coming on, yeah, well, right and wrong. Said, baby, gone, Lord, well, I can't deny. I said, baby, gone, Lord, well, so am I. Got to let it ride. Got to let it ride. Gotta let it ride now.
I don't have a clap machine, unfortunately. Sorry.
No good, no worries. Thank you for letting me.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about your current project you hope get finished, and indulging in the fan questions, of course, that I usually going to find you at a convention for.
No worries. All good. Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you in New England sometime. We do have. Once in a while, we have a horror convention up here, and we have other conventions that are like fan conventions. So we'll have to see about one of them trying to get you up here to New England. Have you ever been to Massachusetts?
Yeah, I was gonna say that'd be good because then one of my girlfriend's favorite spots is Rockport. Then we can go hang out at Rockport, and that would be
Definitely.
good.
And also we got up here in Salem. Of course, we have Salem. You know what I mean?
Done the Salem thing with her too, of
Yeah,
course.
you should reach out to Count Orlok's Nightmare Gallery.
Been there a couple times.
You have. Have you been there as a guest?
I keep trying to get him to bring me as a guest so then we can go to Rockport.
I will get a hold of James. I will get a hold of James and say, hey, Courtney Gains wants to be a guest at your. I don't know if he has a Children of the Corn exhibit in the.
He doesn't. But my girlfriend actually knows him pretty good, and we've talked about it. It just hasn't happened. But like I said, we love the area, so it'd just be nice to get to go visit again.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, we do have a couple fan conventions. We used to have horror conventions. They've all been kind of wiped out, unfortunately. But that was even prior to COVID. So we'll definitely have to do that and stay in touch.
Count Orlok's is great.
Are you on any social media that fans can find you on?
Yeah, sure. Facebook and Instagram under my name. I say on Facebook, it's me because I have all the stuff that's current and you couldn't have otherwise. So you'll know it's me.
Definitely. Awesome. I will tag you on social media when we broadcast this Sunday, and then we post it up on YouTube with your music as well.
Fantastic. Then have it send it to Rachel, and I'll try to post it up.
Definitely, I will. I'll send it right over to him. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. Stay safe and healthy in the remainder of the pandemic.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye now.